Due to popular demand, I'm going to take a look at the FM circuit on that Radio Shack AM/FM table radio. You know, the one that has the AC cord directly connected to the chassis. The one that desperately needs a polarized cord. So where I left off on this unit when I was looking at it before, we have no FM. But we do have AM reception. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going over the board and I'm giving it a close inspection. Because this board's got a lot of that, it's covered with wax, first of all, but it also has that circuit glue, that crap that becomes conductive after a while. And if you look around where the AM bar antenna is there near the bottom of the board, you'll see that there's some of that yellow glue that is now turned kind of brown. So we're going to start by picking this off of the board and just make sure that we don't have any damaged traces underneath there, because I get a feeling that it's either going to be a problem in the oscillator, or it may even be a short or a connection problem on this board. Now, looking at this board itself, it looks like someone in a kindergarten kid had worked on this. I mean, look at that board. It looks like someone's dragged a soldering iron over every single trace. This is how I got the unit. As I said in the last video, this unit I bought at Radio Shack probably 30 years ago. It was in the bargain bin, and I probably only paid $2 or $5 for it or something. It was cheap. The local Radio Shack that we had, they had a bargain bin, and they just throw stuff in there that a lot of it was display stuff. Sometimes things didn't even work, or they had pieces missing to them, but they would just dump them in this bin and sell it off cheap. And this one, when I bought it, it had the dial, like for the station, was missing, and that's why it was sitting in the bargain bin. Got this glue that goes conductive all over the board here. I'm curious as to whether that's what's killing the FM oscillator on this thing, because I think that's what the problem with this is the FM oscillator's not working. But you see, there's all this cruddy glue that they used to put on, and this stuff goes conductive after a while. So I'm just going to scrape this crud out of here and see whether that's what's causing this thing not to work. I'm just gonna go get my heat gun. I'm gonna melt that stupid wax that's around here. There's a lot of wax on that board. If I can melt the wax, maybe I can see what's underneath there. Okay, so that's the ground reference there. That's the one that's going to the negative terminal on the speaker, which is directly connected to one side of the line, but that's beside the point. That's our ground reference on this thing. So if I clip onto the negative terminal on the speaker, the point that I can check for voltages. So I'm just going to probe the board a bit here and see if I can find any voltages that are missing. I'm sure that my problem is in this area where I'm probing. This is the this would be the oscillator for the FM local oscillator. This is the area that I'm actually working in. And I think that the problem is probably going to be in this side of in this particular circuit, because a lot of the other circuits are shared between the AM and the FM. And when as you can hear, I get noise when I. Okay, observe when I probe this transistor down here. Something right in this area of the board. I can get it to work for a few seconds. It's like when I load this down, my probe, maybe a cap that's gone open in here or gone shorted. Right down in this area here, when I put my scope probe right in here, one of these. Weird. When I put the probe on that transistor right here,
CBC News from Vancouver.
It's a connection, I'm sure. Something right in this area. Right down in here. That's weird, because as soon as I put my probe in touch, I think it's the base. Is it the base of this transistor? Or a collector? Collector. As soon as I touch the collector of that transistor, just the loading of the probe kicks it in. It's very, very weird. I wonder if that transistor itself is bad. Maybe the transistor. See, it's coming in on the. I wonder if that transistor is bad. Let's just put some heat on it. Let's see whether that transistor is flaky. We'll just heat it up and see if it kicks in. Something right down in this area. Something right down in here, in this area here, if I get a close up. This is in the FM oscillator circuit. But right down in this area here, that's where I'm applying heat. Do you notice? And it kicked in. Now it won't, but it was. I'm just going to try and get this this cap off here, because those parts are right underneath here. I'm curious as to perhaps it's a connection problem underneath this plastic cap. I don't know how it comes off. Or if it comes off. Gonna heat this thing up here. Heat up this area right in here on the board. Let's see, we've got a connection in here that's bad. I would say I fixed it. So it was obviously just a connection in here. There's the FM working, right? And we'll, that's FM. And we'll go back to AM.
New West, southbound during Great
FM. That was it. That was it. Weird. You know, just a connection, and I found that by accident, just by probing around with my scope, and when I was sticking the scope in here and just touching the legs of this transistor here, the leads, all of a sudden it kicked in for a second. What the heck? And I guess this connection underneath here wasn't making a good, it wasn't soldered properly. I mean, this board is a mess. I mean, this thing looks like it was done by a 5-year-old, and this is how this radio's never been opened before, right? This is how this has been. As I said in the last video, I bought this in the bargain bin at Radio Shack, so I think they probably sent it off to their service department, and somebody just went and looks like somebody just went over the entire board with a iron and lucked out and got something working and then sent it back off to be sold in the store. But anyway, now I can put this back out on my patio, and I'll just put the chassis back in. There's no need to have this out anymore. I was going to replace the AC cord with a polarized cord, but at the moment I don't have one, so that'll have to be done another day. But I think it's pretty obvious how you do that. You just identify which one of these terminals is the one that's connected to ground. It's this one here, I believe. Which one was it? Yeah, it's that one there. So the wide blade goes to that. Wide blade goes to that. Narrow blade goes to that one. That's all there is to replacing that. And at some point I will definitely do that, but as I say, I don't have one to do it with today, so I won't be putting one on today. But I doubt that this radio is going to be seeing much, if any, service. It'll probably sit out my patio just to listen to, and there's not really much chance of getting a shock because I'm not going to be putting any external speaker or headphone plugs on this thing. It's just going to be the plastic knobs that are on the front here, so I don't think I have too much risk of getting a shock. But for future consideration, anybody who's got one of these solid state AC operated radios, for ultimate and safety, especially if you're planning on putting an external earphone or speaker plug on it, you need to make sure that you've got a polarized plug. Let's put the back on this thing and we'll give it a final test here and make sure everything still works. And then we'll move on to our next project. FM.
Premiere, Wednesday at 8 on Global. This is huge.
FM. Back in business. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.